What's going on, everybody? Man, we got a lot to get into, Alex. But first and foremost, for those that will tune into the live, for those that'll catch the replay, it's another Monday back with the weekly show. Shout out to all the members holding down the membership section. Shout out to everybody that has supported the channel since day one. And for those that are tuning in, man, I appreciate each of you. Alice, what's going on, man? Real quick, man, catch me up. How's the week been, man?
Good.
How's training this week?
Yeah, it's been good. Training yesterday, trained today. I'm doing my runs in the morning, full miles in the morning, and then training at night. I did boxing yesterday, 12 rounds. Feeling strong, man. Feeling very, very strong. I was hitting the bag with headphones, and then there was cameras everywhere. Some celebrity trainer was just training, hitting the mitts, and I was just hitting the bag, and then I took my headphones off for a second, and then I heard the sound of my punches when I took the headphones out, and it's sounding good. It's sounding good. You know?
I'm not the sounds we want to hear.
Yeah. It's I'm not trying to have anything short of supernatural power in there. Guys I'm looking up to be inspired by, advised by my coach, my dad. Julian Jackson, Mike McCollum, Nigel Benn, guys like that. Old school fighters. And at the end of the day, when I'm hitting the bag, it's never enough. It's never enough. My training, and that's the kind of mentality you want to be in, where it's just like it's not good enough. It's not good enough. But again, having a good relationship with yourself. But I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling very, very strong. And I'm excited. I'm going to train my dad in New York end of this month. So he's going to see me. I've been training my own last couple of months ever since my adjustment in my neck. And I'm excited to show him. I'm excited to wow him,
Yeah, definitely.
With my power and how serious I am now, so feeling good.
Love to hear it, man. Love to hear it, man. Well, we're going to touch on a bunch of different things today, man, because, man, you want to talk about a weekend of upsets in the boxing world, man. But let's see who we got on here, man. Lights out. What's going on, my man? Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a little bit. I know you're busy out there in the shy, man, but it's good to see you. It's good to see you. Brother Francisco, all the way from AZ. Big Chris in the house, all the way from the UK. Man, I have yet to watch the Reactpo and Billum Smith fight, man, so you got to catch me up on that. Alex says, is this live? We sure are live, man. So, man, where you want to start, man? Where you want to start? You want to start? You know what? Let's start down in Puerto Rico. Let's start with Liam Paro and Subriel Matias. That's what you do, when you come out on the other side. Last week it was Subriel Matias. Name was first, but he didn't get the nod, man. Before I share my thoughts, man, what did you think about this performance here, man? And I got a couple questions for you on regard to some of the stuff that I saw. So what do you think about this one here?
Well, I mean, I did have both fights going on at the same time.
Yeah, me too.
It was a little difficult to watch both. They happened at the same time. The tank fight was on
at the same time. Yeah.
But as far as I see from the highlights, from what I know, Paro just did an excellent job boxing, keeping his distance, getting in and out, and just didn't give Subriel Matias the chance to overwhelm him and stay busy. And I didn't know this, but Subriel Matias up until this point had not fought a top 10 guy, So I thought that his fights previously, he had a lot of wars, really hurt a lot of people, retired people, but he didn't fight a top 10 guy, didn't fight a champion-minded guy, and in my opinion, he probably underestimated Paro. He probably he probably was on a little bit of an ego ego trip, thinking that he's that guy, and he's in Puerto Rico, and he probably thought he was just going to do what he does to everybody else. But Paro had a different plan, and fought smart. He didn't get hit, boxed well, and he did what he was supposed to do. So Subriel Matias, has some thinking to do, and he has, it's different when you're fighting C fighters, B fighters. Once you get to the A League, it's a completely different, what has worked in the past, against guys just brawling. Like, he's been into plenty of just brawls. When a guy just doesn't give you that, then you don't have a plan for it. That you're gonna be in trouble. So I'm happy for Paro, and he's at the top of the division now. So Super Matias was a tough guy to beat, and I'm glad that he pulled it off. Seems like a decent guy from Australia.
Yeah, man. There was a couple things in this fight for me, bro, and even like leading up to the fight. When I did the breakdown of this video, man, I said sometimes fighting at home isn't the best thing. Sometimes because there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. Not that he hasn't fought at home before, but when you're the underdog coming up, it's different. When you're a champion, there's expectations. You want to perform well. And I think both of them had something to prove in the sense, like, Liam Paro, man, dominant performance against Montana Love in his last outing. But Montana Love wasn't a top 10 contender. So he still had a lot to prove as well, too. So before I talk about the fight, man, did you see any of the lead up stuff going into it? Like any stuff like online?
Like talking?
So Alex, well, and I know in my world of professional sports and track and field space, you don't think about nothing than who is in front of you in your lane, and that's it. And I saw a video of him talking to Regis Prograis on FaceTime as if like, yo, when I finish up with this cat, I'm going to come for you. I'm like, yo, what are you doing? What do you can't, he overlooked Paro to me. And another part of it too, man, what I was glad that he actually admitted, he said, look, I don't have the footwork. I don't have the skills, but I have the cojones, so to speak. And so far, the cojones has been able to help him. He's got the power and the pressure. And so even with all of that, I'm thinking about, man, I think he could still do it. He's in Puerto Rico, in his home. When the fight started, man, it was very interesting because Paro got a point deducted for punching behind the head. But I'm like, Matias was doing the same thing. I saw that as well, too. And so when that point got deducted, I was just like, man, there's no way he's going to win now. you know the politics of things. There's no way he's going to win now. And this is my question to you, Alex, because this was one of the things that I kept hearing about, in the comments and after forward. I'm glad that Paro got the win because he deserved the win. And I think this is one of the things with the biasness of boxing and people when they are supporting their guy. At the end of the day, we can talk about how the fight is going to go, but until they get into the ring, we don't know how it's going to go. We just want to see great fights. So one of the things they talked about, the point being deducted from Paro. Now, Paro had an excellent game plan, right? I'm going to move around. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to get combinations off, and I'm going to make sure that you aren't able to get to me. And one of the things that he did was he would punch and he would smother him whenever he got too close. But it did look like he was holding quite a bit. So that was one of the drawbacks that a lot of people were saying is just like, man, Liam Paro, he was holding a whole lot. So I ask you, as someone who's been in the ring fighting, is the difference between holding for strategy versus holding for as part of the game plan. What Matias can do if you give him a little space and separation. He's going to put together that combination. He's going to parry off of you. But if I hit you, boom, boom, and then I tie you up, is that excessive or is that just a great game plan? Like, what did you see in that?
I mean, as long as you're following the rules, nobody can tell you anything. Am I a holder? Absolutely not. But Matias is obviously the more dangerous, powerful guy. So he just did what he thought was best to avoid giving, Matias a shot. And, plenty of boxers have done that in the past. But I mean, excessive. Hey, look, he got the win, and that's all really that he needs to do. Super Matias didn't have a game plan to answer the holding. If you look at guys like Benavidez, you try holding Benavidez, he's gonna hurt you still. So look, you never, it's not obviously not cheating. It's in it's not cheating. He did what he could do, but Super Matias didn't have an answer for it. When a guy tries holding you, you got to get a little physical. You got to push him. You got to hit him with whatever hand that you have. But Paro did what he had to do. Would I tell him if I was his coach to hold? First of all, I don't think I'd be training a guy who I would be making sure that this guy can like really, really hit. I'm not a fan of the holding for me, but if that's his game plan, his coaches say to do that, and then that's what he did, and he got the win.
Yeah, man. And Pyro got a chin too because Matias hit him clean a couple times, but I just felt like, and all power to Liam Paro because he did what he was supposed to do and he got the win. He came down to another man's country, took his belt, spoiled his homecoming, and completely dominated the fight. But on the Subriel Matias part, man, I just didn't like the fact that you're taking FaceTime calls, man. You're not even looking at Paro. You're looking past him.
Ego.
Yeah. And as someone who, as he said, I don't have the skill, I don't have the talent like that, but I got the cojones. He was dependent on that cojones, and it did not bail him out this time around. And this was a fight that you're always looking for guys to show you that next thing, that next thing that I've been working on this and training that skill. And this time it didn't play out for him. It didn't play in his favor. It seemed like he wanted to fight Regis Prograis, then he wanted to fight Liam Paro. And on this night, the better man won the fight. The better man game plan won the fight. And man, I don't know, man. Matias' homecoming was just not good. It just wasn't good, man. But before we move on, let's get to these comments, man. Mr. Ryan Frazier, what's going on, man? Liam game plan was great, and the blueprint is now out on Matias. I expected Matias' pressure to be too much, but looked like Matias couldn't cope with the pressure on fighting at home. Term Paro with a brilliant performance, well-deserved, happy for him. Matias was matched. Yeah, that's exactly what it looked like, man. I hope it's better on your side, man. Paro will defend against Richardson Hitchens. Oh, okay. I
sparred him, Hitchens.
He's good.
Yeah, he's good. He can move. He can move.
Paro fought clean, fair, and square. Matias was at the club the night before, and he never got. Oh, don't say that, bro. Is that true? Don't say he was. He's on that. He's on that Ryan Garcia. He's on that Ryan Garcia. I think Matias. 1,000%. It really just looked like that, and it showed, man. Like you just can't do that, man. And the magnitude and the he calls himself the boogeyman all the time. And to that point, it's proven that he could. But yeah, boogeyman don't go out like this, man. So he's got to go back to rebuilding himself all over again because he's got 2 losses now. He's got 2 losses now. So yeah. Let's keep it going, man. Let's keep it going, man. Again, happy that Paro won the fight. I'm always happy that when the right man wins the fight. When the point was deducted, I was just like, I don't know if they're going to give it to Paro now. But let's keep it pushing, man. Let's go here. Alberto Poello Shout out to everybody out there that corrected my pronunciation and gave me some tips. They said, Akeem, you don't pronounce the L's, man. You let it roll off the tongue. So, we try to make adjustments. But he went split decisions over Gary Antoine Russell. What was your thoughts on this, man? What do you think of this performance here?
Yeah, so I mentioned this last time we spoke. It's about the will and the hunger of a fighter. I can't emphasize how big the importance is in the will to win. So, I saw, Gary Russell, following Alberto throughout the fight, but then, it was a pretty close fight. Alberto was boxing pretty well, but towards the end of the fight, Alberto, he stepped it up. He got very, very busy. I think I heard his daughter or his girlfriend in the back just like speaking, like giving him pointers, but he put it to him, and
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, it's about, especially in the later rounds, who's the busier, more active fighter, who wants it more, and that's what judges pay attention to. Who wants it more? Who's showing it that they want to win, and that they're busy. And towards the end, he gave it to Russell. So I think he's from Dominican Republic. As well as also Adamas also fought that night, and the judges pay attention to that. Even in the amateurs, it's about who is more of the log compared to who is more of the ocean. And Alberto was putting it to him, and he was a lot busy, especially at the end of the fight. Like even when I'm hitting the bag, right? I started hitting the bag 12 rounds. I'm busy. But towards the end, 11th, 12th, 10th, 11th, 12th round, I better give it all, because that's when it counts. Judges pay attention to how you not just start the fight, but how you finish the fight. And Felix Trinidad against De La Hoya. De La Hoya won the first half of the fight. Some say he won like even the 8 rounds. It's a very controversial decision, but Felix Trinidad finished the fight. I'm not saying it was the right decision, but
Absolutely.
Judges pay attention to how you finish the fight and how bad you want it. And if you're not busy and you let the guy just do what he's gonna do, then you're not gonna get the decision. Not all the time, but a lot. So I'm very happy for Alberto. I love when hungry guys who are the underdog upset the favorite, and just like Super Matias, you gotta be. It's not just about getting to the top. It's about staying there and about keeping that same hunger. And a lot of guys just lose it. They lose that hunger. Like Tank, who we'll get to, still hungry. He looks like a lion who hasn't eaten in days. You know what I mean? And that's how you got to be. You got to look hungry. You got to act hungry. So, Alberto, let's see what's next for him.
Yeah, man. Pollo, man, there was a comment like a day before the fight that said, man, is this a cherry pick for Gary Antoine Russell? And I was just like, absolutely not. Like Pollo he can fight. I felt like the pressure of Russell was going to be able, and his athleticism, what later in the fight, he was going to be able to wear down Pollo. And I'm like, man, I think he's going to stop him late. So that was my pick. But as the fight went on, man, it reminded me of when Robson Conceição fought Emmanuel Navarrete, and Navarrete drops him like twice, right? When Navarrete is up, like he's winning the fight. But Conceição, it was like all heart and all will, but it was a simple 1-2 combination every single time that he could. Left, right. And it was enough to keep Navarrete off of him, but also to land. And he was outworking him. And it kind of looked like that. I was looking for Gary Antoine Russell. Man, are you going to make the adjustment? Because he kept getting hit with the same shot. I felt like Pollo took the early rounds. Russell came on in the middle rounds, but then Pollo finished really strong.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like in Gary Antoine Russell, we were waiting for him to show us a little bit more than just that power. I felt like the pressure would have wore Pollo down, but man, that man's very well conditioned as well too. And then there was a point taken away, and I thought the same thing when we saw Paro get the point taken away as well too. I was just like, man, that point could be the point that loses Pollo this fight. So I was glad that the right man won the fight because I did feel like Pollo did edge it. I'm not mad at the split decision victory. I thought it was a good fight. It was a close fight, a lot of close rounds. But I was just waiting for Gary Antoine Russell to show us a little something different, and he just didn't make the adjustment. He didn't cut off the ring as well as I thought that he would have been able to. I was waiting for him to, land that athletic looping right hook that he usually does, but it just didn't quite happen for him. And I got to give that credit to Pollo because he was disciplined, very disciplined. And sometimes, just being simplistic, but being fundamentally sound enough consistently throughout the rounds is enough for you to win the fight. He didn't do anything crazy spectacular, but his game plan was excellent, simple, and he executed, and he was disciplined, and he did not do more than he needed to do. There are times when, sometimes you got to box, but sometimes you got to fight, and I thought he did a good job of both of that. But, it was a close fight, and I think both men will be better from this. I actually wanted it to go 12 for Gary Antoine Russell, even though I thought he would win by stoppage. But I feel like he needs the experience. Yeah. We could name a bunch of people who knocks people out, but then when they fight a guy who can fight, they're not the same. Edgar Berlanga, for example, it took him a while to get to where he is now. So people were saying it was a robbery. I didn't see a robbery. I don't believe that. I disagree. I think the right man won the fight. Pollo was just, he did enough to win the fight. It wasn't a bad fight. Both men had their moments. I thought Gary Russell was going to win the fight. That was my pick, but Pollo executed tremendously and, he was able to get the win, man. Let's go over to these comments before we move forward. Pollo's experience showed. Absolutely. I edged it to Pollo personally. I agree.
I'm just going to say it's a Pollo.
Pollo.
Pollo, there you go. Because pollo means chicken. Just so you know, I'm not even 100% fluent in Spanish.
Pollo.
Like pollo.
Pollo.
There you go.
I predicted Russell on points in a pick'em fight, but went either way. Absolutely. I think the big question mark for Pollo was how would he look after being popped dirty. He definitely didn't have any ring rust. Yeah, man, I thought he looked good, man. Let's keep it pushing, man. Let's talk about right here, man. What was your thoughts on this fight, man? Because you were talking about, Gvozdyk. Yeah. Did he look like what you thought he would look, or did you see what did you think happened for him in this fight, man?
So it was a bit disappointing for me.
Okay.
I wanted Gvozdyk. He has all the tools. He let it go. Benavidez couldn't hurt him. I saw him, boxing well, taming Benavidez, just controlling him in the early rounds, but he didn't put it on him. He did at the 12th round, but he treated it like it was a sparring session. And the thing is, I don't know where Gvozdyk is in his life. I don't know where he is. Maybe the Better BF fight, he got hurt. Maybe he didn't want to take the chance of risking getting hurt, but he didn't show that he wanted it. He did well. He did well, but he didn't give it to him. He didn't give it to Benavidez, especially after the 6th round, 7th round, when Benavidez started to show some fatigue. And if you want to beat a guy like Benavidez, you got to give it to him. You got to same way how Bivol gave it to Canelo, right?
Yes.
Bivol was boxing, but then when he had his moments, that's what you got to do. You gotta give it to him. And Gvozdyk, despite him having the tools, the size, not being hurt, he just didn't he didn't do it. I think the Benavidez was exposed a little bit in terms of him not being the Mexican monster at light heavyweight. You know, these punches aren't going to have the same effect on big guys. You know, compared to like a Caleb Plant and Andrade. You know, the reason why I go for fighters based on their character. And you know, Benavidez, you know, he's an amazing fighter, all the respect to him, but I just, you know, I'm more about the humbleness, you know, that kind of mentality, character. And I wanted Gvozdyk to win because I would like to see him fight Beterbiev again in a rematch, but you know, he kind of let it slip. You know, he did okay. You know, he didn't get hurt or anything like that, but he kind of treated it like it was a sparring session, but not like he wanted to become champion of the world again. He let Benavidez do what he wanted. It's a fight at the end of the day. It's a fight, and he treated it like more like a sparring session compared to a fight, you know? So
yeah,
my opinion, it wasn't impressive for Benavidez. It wasn't impressive for Gvozdyk. For me, Benavidez was just a little bit more busy, showed that he wanted it more, and that's the reason why he won.
Yeah, man. I'm on the opposite in a couple ways. Now, for those watching, correct me if I'm right or wrong in this. I read that Benavidez, like, something was hurt, like his hand or something.
Oh, yeah,
I read that. So, you know, so we keep that with a grain of salt, because in a fight, just like how in any elite sport, when you step into the ring, all the excuses are gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have a cracked rib, but nobody wants to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to hear that. So we are going into this one thinking everybody's 100% healthy. Man, I saw some different type of movements in Benavidez that I hadn't really seen, as far as the head movement, neck movement, you know. Yeah, you know, I could see he was working on some movement inside of the gym and stuff that he didn't really show. You know, usually he's just that come forward, high shell, and he just waits.
Great head movement.
Yeah, so I saw some adjustments there. And honestly, man, for the first 9 rounds, I mean, it was all Benavidez. You know, I was just like, man, this guy's really dominating this fight. Excellent body work. And it just makes me think, like, Gvozdyk came in looking shredded, man. I'm like, the body shots that he took, if it was anybody else, they would have been out. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what type of core trading Gvozdyk was doing, but he took those shots and he took them well. But I will say this, after that 8th, 9th round, I noticed, maybe you did, maybe those watching, maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't, maybe you got a different perspective, but I felt like Benavidez slowed down a little bit, and his output wasn't as volume as it was in the beginning half. You know, now he finished the fight strong, but Gvozdyk's best round was that 12th round, because he started to let his hands go a little bit more, but by then it was kind of too late. Yeah. But I felt like 9, 10, 11, Benavidez's work rate started to slow down a little bit. He was still doing, you know, really good shots, being selective, like the body work, but hand speed wasn't as quick as it was, you know, and then maybe it was the broken hand or whatever the case was. But I did like the performance, man. And one of the things people were saying is like, man, you know, Benavidez, you know, he looks chubby and this and that. Look, Benavidez is never going to be the shredded guy that a Gvozdyk is. That's just, sometimes your body just doesn't allow you to get there, you know. But what works for him has been working for him. But I saw improvements personally in the head movement. You can see him moving his head off the line a little bit more and just adding different parts to his game plan. So for not being at 175 since 2015 and coming up against a guy like Gvozdyk, who, dude, when you look at that and you see how Beterbiev was able to stop him, Gvozdyk took some punches, bro. Like, I'm just like, what's going on? I never thought that Benavidez was this one-shot knockout power puncher. I think he's an accumulation type of guy. Yeah. But it just goes to show what type of power Beterbiev has. Yeah. Yeah. But I was actually, you know, like, if I had to say, you know, out of 10, I'm going to give it an 8.5, because I saw something more than just the come forward type of
Yeah, yeah.
Benavidez.
I'm not saying that Benavidez. I definitely saw an improvement in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that I was more disappointed in Gvozdyk's lack of performance
Yes.
because I know, again, I don't know where he is in his life, but
Absolutely.
I know that was definitely not the same Gvozdyk, who fought Beterbiev. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I thought he was in the best shape of his life. And I was more disappointed in Gvozdyk's performance than I was impressed. Although I was, definitely saw improvements from Benavidez, but Gvozdyk definitely could have won, 100%. He definitely could have won
He
if
was very hesitant.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was hesitant.
Yeah.
He was like I'm like, okay, it's the 6th, 7th round. Do you want to win or do you not want to win? I don't know if he had an endurance problem. He showed Benavidez too much respect. Gvozdyk could have won. He's the bigger, stronger guy, in my opinion. Who has more, in my opinion, more one-punch knockout power. But he just what was the peppering?
Peppering. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But at some point, you really got to let your hands go. So, he just didn't look like he wanted to win. So it's like, I can spar any guy off the street and make him look good, and by just letting him be busy and just
Yeah.
I can do that easily, but but I'm not. Like if I'm gonna fight,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it all out there, and I don't think Gvozdyk really put it all out there. That was not a life or death kind of fight. That was 100%.
No.
He was just like, okay, all right, yeah, I didn't win. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna see what Benavidez does next. But we keep things pushing. Oh dang, I didn't know. Yeah, Pollo. I believe he was taking something to help with him starting a family, and he was able to prove it. The obviously banned substances are banned substances. Yeah, I'm working on it. I appreciate you though. Benavidez wasn't spectacular, but he did edge it in my opinion. It's his first fight at 175, so I can let him off, but no way he should get winner of Bivol. Beterbiev needs another fight at lightweight. Yeah, but he might slide in there, man. You know how boxing works, man. Porter Way says Benavidez had a broke hand. Y'all need to quit overlooking that. So the broken hand is like true, 100% true. I just read it, but I just wanted to double check. I want Benavidez Canelo, but we're probably not going to get that. Yeah, we're probably not going to get that one anytime soon. It sounds good. if his hand wasn't hurt, he K's old buddy. Man, I don't even know if that to be true anymore. Man, I saw Gvozdyk. That man got a chin. The man won every round. That's impressive, but haters gonna hate. I like the performance. Everybody saw us a little bit differently, man. People use every experience in the book when Spence got whooped instead of giving Crawford his proper credit. So I can't believe we ignore excuses. As far as I know, man, everybody that I talked to, they just said Crawford was the better man. Ain't no wrong in that. But that's the thing in boxing, man, is when you like somebody, win, lose, or draw, you're gonna ride for your person regardless. But I'm not into that. I don't got no what's the saying? No dog in the fight. I just like to see the best fights, man. But when I see Benavidez at super middleweight, always seems huge at weight. Give Benavidez another fight at lightweight, and he may be even better. I agree. Crawford and Spence was proper masterclass. No excuses, man. Was that ever? Benavidez looked good, but there's the question of whether his power will carry. I'd lean towards Bivol and Beterbiev beating him. Bivol can't hurt him. Beterbiev can, but they're great fights. Oh yeah, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. David caused me my parlay with Tank. Did you have Benavidez by stoppage, or did you have him by decision? I thought he was going to be able to stop him late, but I realized after the 6th round, yeah, he's not stopping this guy. He's not stopping this guy, man. Man, let's keep it pushing, man. Let's keep it pushing. Let's talk the main event. Gervonta Tank Davis, Frank Martin. You talked about this a little bit earlier. You said, man, Tank is fighting like he's still hungry. What did you think about this fight, man?
Yeah, Frank Martin did a great job in the early rounds.
Absolutely.
Felt like he wanted to win, and I know
Yep.
he wanted to win. But at the end of the day, you can't hold a hungry power puncher lion who closes the gap off of you for 12 rounds just on defense, just on defense alone. And Gervonta was able to figure him out, was able to walk him down, and once he was able to close the gap, he was able to hurt Martin. And it's could yeah, no, I mean, Martin just didn't have the tools. Would have liked to see a lot more lateral angles. He kind of, the way Martin, he doesn't use angles as well as, in my opinion, as he should, such as like a Lomachenko would against Tank.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. That's probably what we'll discuss a little bit. But yeah, no, and then he was. Tank was able to walk him down in a straight line, but again, this wasn't as surprising as for me as Gvozdyk and Benavidez was. I thought it was going to be a lot more of a competitive fight with Gvozdyk and Benavidez than I thought that Martin and Tank, because as I said, Tank is a complete fighter. He's a complete fighter. He knows what he's doing. He's hungry. He's probably the hardest hitter in his division. But props to Martin for fighting to win, and hopefully he didn't get too hurt and could come back.
Yeah, man, I wouldn't be surprised if Martin moved up to like 140. Because you you saw the weigh-in too. Like he looked terrible. Like he when someone's dehydrated, you can see the eyes and the pupils, but you can also look at their lips and see it as well too. When your lips are dry and you're always, going like this and you're trying to talk, if you are just talking and you get cotton mouth, you're dehydrated. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of looked like that. As far as the fight, man, I agree with everything that you said. I expected Martin to win the early rounds. He's athletic, he's fast, smart fighter, he's strong. But what was interesting to me, I was waiting for Frank Martin throughout this fight to get off of the back foot and push the pace on the front foot and make Tank fight on the back foot. But as the moment the fight started, we know Tank isn't the fastest starter. He kind of takes his time. He kind of stalks you. He kind of just watches. And even from the jump, Tank was coming forward. He wasn't throwing anything really, but he was pushing Frank back on the front foot, on the back foot. And there would be times when I'm like, yo, Frank, get off the ropes, bro. Like, yo, get off the ropes. Do something to get off of the ropes. And don't let him push you back. Tank usually, and even going to the press conference, some of the stuff that Tank was doing that Martin didn't really retaliate with. Alex, when you're in the face-off, man, if somebody comes in your face and somebody just pushes you in your head, you're not going to take that, right?
Yeah.
You're going to push him back, because at the time, no man or woman, for those, watching women, when you do face-offs too, you're not going to intimidate me, right? You're not just going to come in here and just push me off and do your thing. And I was seeing that in the press conference. And it just seemed like that same thing inside of the ring. Frank did not do something for him to get the respect. He just let Tank walk him down, and he's moving. And it looks beautiful when Martin's moving. He's fluid. He's got the footwork. You know what I'm saying? He's looking good. But when you can't do something to make him respect you, you you don't do something to discourage him, it's only a matter of time. Tank is able to capitalize on his power because he's got great timing. And it's always interesting hearing people talk when they get knocked out by Tank, Rolly said Tank wasn't a big puncher. Okay, I'm not in the ring with him. It doesn't look like that from our perspective, but okay. But then you hear Frank talk about him, and he said, "Yeah, he's got power, but what makes him so good is he knows how to put that timing in his power." So good performance, man. I think it kind of played out kind of how we kind of expected it to. Man, let me bring in my guy John in here, man, to get his thoughts on it. Me and John were talking a little bit, John, what's up, man?
Oh, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Good, man. John, Alex, John, man. Man, since we on the topic of Gervonta Tank Davis, man, what was your thoughts on this performance right here, my brother?
It was a great performance by one of the best fighters in the world. You know, I thought Frank had his moments. He's a good boxer. I thought Gervonta was in complete control from round one. He knew he had a game plan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I knew it was a matter of time before he stopped him because he was walking him down the whole fight. He was letting Frank get his work off. Gervonta he didn't respect his power. Whenever I see Gervonta start marching forward, you could land some shots. He got a chin. He's not respecting your power. And to me, it was a matter of time. He showed his greatness. I called it before the fight. I said, Frank's a good fighter, but I don't think he does anything better than Davis. He's not faster than him. He's not sharper than him. He doesn't have his experience. He doesn't have his power, and he hasn't been under those bright lights before. So I thought it was a great performance by Tank, man. I mean, Frank did as best as he could do. You
Yeah,
know,
that's the thing. Like, you can't fault the man for,
yeah,
as Alex said, like going in sometimes your best just isn't good enough. And that's just what
yeah,
it is. Like, there's no harm in that.
yeah. He did his best. I mean, he's a good fighter. I see him going the distance with the other top lightweights
Abs-
in the division.
absolutely.
He might beat most of them, but Tank is special. You know what I'm saying? He's a special fighter, and I think he has that. That's why he's a star, man. You see the people in attendance. He brings the celebrities out. I pulled up. I think I told you I pulled up to the weigh-in, and
Yeah.
everybody was there. And I know, Benavidez has a fan base as well, but it's a Tank card, man. It's he's one of the biggest stars. If not him and Canelo, 1A, 1B, however you want to mix it up in terms of star power right now. Um, and there's a reason for that. I mean, he performs, he gives you knockouts, and
Yeah.
everybody loves a knockout, and that's always going to bring the casuals are going to come out and see a knockout. So I thought it was a great performance, man. Tank is a beast, man. He can do it all. When he respects your power, he's going to beat you
Yeah.
off the back foot, right? He's going to box off his back foot. You saw when he fought Ryan last year. Ryan came out very aggressive. He respected his power. He respected his hook. He caught him in the first round, got his attention, and then he adjusted. And he never caught him with that left hook again. And everything he did was, I'm gonna let him come forward. I'm gonna let him shoot his
Hmm.
shots, and I'm gonna time him with a counter. And that's what he did. And then he did it again in the exchange. So
he
I
he
mean,
very consistent. He very consistent.
yeah, and
He's
and
very
I mean,
consistent.
he earned his spot. There's a lot of talks. Oh, he's not fighting the best. He didn't fight Loma when he was champ. He didn't fight Telfimo. He didn't fight Devin and all these guys. There was a lot of talk about Tank Davis ducking or not fighting the elite or the champions of the division. But in reality, man, he'll beat all those guys, man. He beat all those
Let's
guys.
let's stay on this here, because before I go back to the comments, we're gonna keep it right here since we're talking about Tank. Alex, you can share your thoughts, and then Jay, and then John will follow. Um, so this is supposed to be the next fight next. Two-part question for both of you. One, do you want to see this fight? And two, just what's your general thoughts on it? Because not a lot of people want to see this fight, but do you want to see this fight, and what's your thoughts on it? Alex, start us off,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, I think Tank is always a threat when it comes to his power. In terms of skill, I think if there's anyone, I think they're probably like right here. I think that if there's anybody who can beat Tank, it could be Lomachenko if he doesn't get caught. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's just a given. He knows how to use angles. He knows how to frustrate his opponents just by standing right in front of him. He does not stay still. He stays right in front of him. His performance against Kambosos was amazing. So, in my opinion, I definitely would love to see it. If there's anyone who can beat Tank at this division, it is him. As long as he doesn't get hit and as long as he stays busy, uses his angles, goes up and down. And I think that, they're the biggest threat to each other. Tank is the biggest threat to Loma, and Loma is the biggest threat to Tank. Obviously, one is more dangerous, being Tank. But, as long as Loma stays young, doesn't get old. I think he's like 37?
37, 38 now.
Like that. But he looked amazing in his last fight that was Kambosos though. So it's definitely going to be a next level fight. So that would be a very, very, very competitive fight. So definitely would love to see it.
John, what you think, man?
I think it's a great fight. I mean, it'll be a unification. I think it's long overdue, but at the same time, it's still a big fight. And Loma is a little older, but he had a great performance. The only man to stop Kambosos, and he's a young. I think he's 36. He's a young 36, man. Where hasn't had a whole lot of wars. He
and
looks
lives a
like
clean life.
yeah, he looks like he takes care of himself. So he's not, a guy who abuses his body and has been in many wars. So I still think this is a prime Lomachenko. I think the Devin Haney fight could have gone either way. But that's another great boxer in Devin Haney. Teofimo Lopez, he got started late, but he lost to two elite guys at 135, so, and he gave a good account of himself. But again, Tank is a different breed, man. Tank, you can be doing well, or you can have the illusion that you got him. You know what I mean? You saw something, you have control. But when he wants to turn it up, he's gonna turn it up, man. So I think it's gonna be a competitive fight the first half, and then it's just Tank's gonna see him, he's gonna catch him, and it's gonna change the whole fight. I like if it were to happen, I like Tank by a late knockout. By a late knockout.
I agree with what you said, man. Like, I think Loma comes on early, and I think partially that because Tank doesn't, he just don't let his hands go early, But I think at some point, I just don't think Loma can do anything to really discourage Tank. Maybe frustrate him a little bit because of the footwork and the angles he takes. There's the boxing pedigree, but I don't think Loma has enough power to make Tank discouraged enough to the point where he's going to not come forward. Frustrate him a little bit, but then he's going to let that hand go. And no matter what you say about Tank, I think he's a complete fighter. Thought that for years. But even if he wasn't a complete fighter and he was just an okay fighter, he's got that thing that can help him get out of trouble at any moment once he lets it go. And it's hard to neglect that left hand. And the right hand was on point too against Martin, so he can punch from both hands. So I'd love to see it. I know a lot of people don't, but at the end of the day, it's two great fighters at the tops of the division. And if it's a good fight regardless, man. So I want to see it. It's probably what's next, but it's hard not to think that, Tank isn't going to come out on top. I as Alex, you said, Loma beat Kambosos, but Kambosos is no Gervonta Tank Davis, man. That's a complete fighter, man.
Loma does win. He would have to have a perfect fight,
Oh,
He would need to be on, foot on the gas from round one, and the only he can't let Gervonta breathe for a second. Just just constantly moving, constantly moving. He needs to be in the best shape of his life and fight a perfect fight and not get hit. And this stuff happens. You know what I mean? Like this stuff happens in boxing. You know, the power puncher knocking everybody out can get beat. You know, so I mean, obviously, I understand why Tank might be favorited. You know, being younger, being the power puncher, having no losses and stuff like that. But as I said, if there is a guy to beat Loma, to beat Tank, it would have to be Lomachenko. You know, or I mean, at this division, because you need a guy in order to beat Tank. You can't get hit by him. You know what I
Gotta
mean?
be defensively sound.
But
Yeah.
There's one guy to get to maximize the chance of not getting hit by him. It would be the best defensive fighter in the division, in my opinion, Lomachenko. So
I think the best defensive fighter, safety first fighter in the division is Shakur Stevenson.
oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I
You're
think
Cool.
you know, if there's a guy that I wouldn't say he would beat Tank, but if it was somebody that can frustrate him, who's definitely not looking to get hit, you know, who's okay winning a fight with just a jab and not
That's
taking the
Shakur.
chances, it would be Shakur. You know, because we see that Loma, you know, he's a great boxer, great angles, good southpaw, but you know, he likes to mix it up. You know, he's aggressive too. So I think an aggressive boxer fighting Tank Davis, you have to have a better chin than him, and you have to probably match his power. And I like Lomachenko. I think it's a great fight, but I just feel Tank eventually will time him. And I think that's what people kind of say. Oh, he's a power puncher. I think he's more than a power puncher. I think he's a very gifted boxer as well. I think he can adapt to any style out there. And even if you're troubling him, man, he's gonna catch you, man. He's gonna time you. His timing, his
He's gonna
speed.
find a way.
Yeah, like he's explosive, man. He has good timing. He has good speed. You know, I don't really see a weakness in him right now. You know, is he there to be hit? Yeah, but if you notice, he gets hit with guys that he doesn't respect their power.
Oh, a thousand
So
percent.
yeah, you know, but if he was in there with a guy that, you
Look at
know,
Rolly.
exactly. If he's in there with a dude that can hurt him, he's not dumb. He'll make adjustments. He'll be defensive. He'll pick his shots. He'll be looking to, you know, get out of the way. You saw with Ryan, he respected his left hook, and you know, he was holding that phone, man, and then he was ducking under the
And
hook
he stayed away from it.
and he
You
stayed
know,
away from it
just
because
smart fighter, man.
yeah,
Smart
man.
fighter.
Like, you know, he talked his crap about Ryan and all that kind of stuff, but that's what he does. He plays these mind games, but he takes you very serious and he understands, you know, he respects the weapons. If you have any weapons in there, he's going to be respectful of that and take it away from you. And I think that's a sign of a great fighter. Whatever you do best in the ring, they take it away from you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's another thing he does. Because I'll be honest, I was one of Tank's critics early on in his career. I wanted to see him. I thought he was too talented, you know, to not be pinned against the best fighters. But they had a plan for his career, man. You know, they wanted to turn him into a star, not necessarily put him in there with the elite guys where he can get an early loss in his career as he's growing. They wanted him to develop, get in his prime before they put him in there against the very best. And I thought it was a great strategy. And as a result, we have, you know, who are many calling the new face of boxing. You know, I'm not ready
Yeah.
to say he's the face of boxing because Canelo is still active and he's still drawing the massive crowds and stuff like that. But like I said, he's probably number two right now, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, and he's still young, man. I think he's 28 years old.
Yeah.
So
Not 30 yet.
yeah. So
29.
you know, yeah, so I could definitely, you know, see Tank just dominating 135. I mean, what I saw on Saturday as well, I know we're gonna touch on it later. I think he beat some of these guys at 140, man.
Mm,
As small as he is, man.
mm.
You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He's a mini Mike Tyson. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing. You know, there's not a lot of guys in the sport who punch correctly, who punch with bad intentions, like the way Tank does.
Right.
Putting everything in there, and throwing properly. Canelo's obviously another one who hits proper. But there's not a lot of guys who hit with bad intentions like Tank, and that's why he's in the category of his own.
That's a good comparison.
If he was fighting in the 1980s, it'd be a different story. But if you're an old school fighter and you're fighting today's guys, you have the upper hand. Better be a old school fighter, you know, Canelo, old school fighter. If you hit people with the intention to break their bones, you're gonna do pretty good. Because a lot of even when I was in the Golden Gloves and I was fighting these pros or sparring these pros, like we would spar and I would hit them, they would just be like, "What the hell? What is this?" It's not as common, you know.
Yeah.
Hitting with bad fucking intentions, not just like hitting to really hurt, you know. But Tank throws with everything he has, and that's why it's like, oh my God, what are you doing? Like, I'm not used to this, you know, and people aren't used to it, you know. So
yeah,
That's great. That's a good comparison, man.
man.
I like that comparison that you brought up with Canelo, with the explosive, with the punch placement, because I remember Tank like a couple years ago. I think it was before he fought Mario Bar or Pitbull Cruz when he hurt his hand, right? He said that he watched a lot of Canelo. He's like, I watch a lot of. They're like, who do you watch a lot right now? He's like, I watch a lot of Canelo right now. And I could definitely see a little bit of him just when you don't respect the power, walk him down, pressure him, break him mentally, make him doubt himself, let him know that he can't hurt you. He's gonna get tired. You're gonna land hard shots. And it's gonna be a matter of time. Why box with him? Put that pressure on him. Make him work when he don't want to work. Make him speed up the pace. You're pressuring him. Make him move around. Make him expend more energy than he planned on doing. And it's gonna be a matter of time. Why play with your food? You know, so I was like, I definitely like seeing when he does that. And I mean, man, it was a great performance, man. It was a great performance. He looked phenomenal, sharper than ever.
Man, let me get to these comments before we move on to the next couple subjects here, man. Chris says, Tank versus Loma. That's a fight I want to see. Future face of boxing versus pound for pound. Great. Natasha Bass says, I won that Chiron bet. I was looking to see if he did a prediction after Elijah pulled out the first fight and his energy in the buildup. You know, I actually did a prediction of that. I just never posted it. Like I recorded and everything, but when I literally just forgot about it. So it's still in the folder. But that was another crazy fight, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. Frank should move up. He looked drained. I don't understand why these guys drain themselves like that. Man, I'm going to tell you why, bro. When certain people call you to fight, you don't pass that up. That's a big money fight. That's all it is. That's a big money fight. Canelo calls, I got to fight. You're going to get more money in that fight than you would in your next 3, 4, 5 fights. And so the drainage is just, man, sometimes you got to lose the fight to win the war. You know what I'm saying? These guys go win the war because I'm sure Frank Martin probably got the payday of his career so far. Tanks backs his talks up, man. Does he ever? Yeah, I think it's like Crawford, great timing, punch placement for Tank. No punches wasted. Tank versus Loma in a mega fight, intriguing matchup. I would edge to Tank but one of them 50-50 fights. Martin took the first 3 rounds with his feet and jab, but Davis has nice feet too. And in the 4th, he began to win the dance of positioning and picked him off. After that, it was only a matter of time. That's what that's when you fight Tank, man. Only a matter of time. Now, this isn't prime Loma. He had over 400 amateur fights. All his pro fights have been against high-level opposition. Of course, I want to see Loma versus Tank. I would have picked Loma a few years ago. Tank seemed to avoid him. Now it's 50-50. Bigger fight for me is Tank versus Shakur. That's the fight that we would love to see. Loma starts quick, just like Usyk, but how long for? Tank comes strong and sees you in the second half, and I fancy Tank late stoppage. Big Eric R, what's going on, man? What's going on, my man? Lady Shan, what's going on? Good to see you. He likes fighting inside too. Loma, Tank versus Shakur, to me, easier than the Frank Martin fight. Woo! Not saying Shakur isn't the better fighter, but he just don't possess the power that Frank had to earn Tank's respect. Thoughts on this right here, fellas? What you guys think about this one here? Agree, disagree?
I think Shakur knows how to use his longer arms, taller fighter. I don't think that Shakur can win on defense alone. He would have to, be busy, let his hands go. But I think that he's taller fighter, knows how to use his range a lot better than Frank, who's a naturally shorter fighter.
Yeah.
I think it'll be more competitive for sure, 100%.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I agree. I mean, I wouldn't say it would be easier than Frank Martin, but I would definitely say it's the same result. If he doesn't respect your power, you can only jab and, run around the ring for so long. When he starts walking you down and cutting the ring off and wearing you down mentally, and then in the second half, he's going to inflict the physical damage. So if you don't have that power, man, it's kind of you can't beat Tank, man. You gotta have some pop to beat Tank. Because he can box too. He's not a one-dimensional brawler that just swings for the fences that you can outbox for 12 rounds. He's very intelligent in that ring, so he'll make adjustments, So I can see Shakur doing well first half, pretty close and competitive. And then Tank gonna turn the heat up in the kitchen, man. And and when he does, Shakur is gonna find himself in an uncomfortable position in the ring, and it might be good night. You know?
Yeah.
Man, I want to see the fight, man. I'd love to see it. Lady Shan says, but Ryan was drained. It wasn't fair.
Hey, he
Lady
signed the
Shan.
contract, man.
Lady Shan talks a lot of boxing as well, too. She's got a channel. So shout out to you. I appreciate you. Got to get you on here as well. Tank is not taking any losses for at least 5 years or more. Tank doesn't get enough credit for his defense. The risk/reward of when he punches is always in his favor. Tank can cut off the ring, smother Shakur's work, and capitalize on his anxiety. Shakur is slick. Frank is not. Porterway says, how y'all feel about Tank versus Keyshawn Davis? I know he doesn't have the resume yet, but he definitely has power. What you guys think about this one? I don't think Keyshawn ready for that, man. Too early.
Soon. It's too soon for
Yeah.
Keyshawn, man. Let's see how he does with
Yeah.
a power puncher. He's fighting a guy. I forgot his name. It's a fighter out of Mexico who doesn't have the greatest boxing technique, but he's a very big puncher. So this is like his test against a big puncher. This is a fight that Keyshawn is supposed to win because the guy doesn't really have a whole lot of a whole lot of head movement, So he's gonna stand right in front of Keyshawn so he can pick him apart, but he's definitely gonna test his chin, So I want to see how he looks against this guy first, so I can see how he deals with a puncher before we start talking about measuring up with a puncher boxer, experienced fighter like a Tank Davis. Too soon for Keyshawn. I think it wouldn't be competitive right now.
What do you think, Alex? You've probably seen Keyshawn a couple times in the gym, right?
He's from New York, right?
No,
He's from
I think
Virginia.
he's from VA, but I think he goes there quite a bit. I could be wrong in that.
I don't. No, I know who he is. No, I don't think I've ever seen him in person. But he's too small. I mean, too small, like physically. He doesn't have the. Just like I just feel like Tank would just break him. It's like my dad and I were talking about this the other day. It's like having power is your VIP pass. Is your VIP pass in the pros. And the amateurs is a different story. But when you hit harder and you're stronger than everybody else, it's pretty simple. It's like it's the stronger guy. It's the guy who can hit harder. Like unless you're talking about George Foreman against Ali. Ali is one of the only guys who can pull that shit off. But but at the end of the day, typically power and strength typically always wins. Especially when you're not just one dimensional. So like how I made the comparison with Canelo and Tank. You don't really need to do much besides when you're stronger than a guy, besides walk him down, just walk with your hands up, and just whenever you get the chance, just break whatever you see in front of you, from the body to the head. And that punch was worth 20 punches. You know what I mean? It does something to you when you get hit really, 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 really hard. It's not just about points. It's not about winning the fight. It's about, wow, this is a little scary to me. You know what I mean? So that's why, like, even in me and my career, and why I've always, my dad, my coach, always wanted me to be the strongest guy in the ring,
Yeah.
because it buys you so many points, and it just allows you to do things that you can do with a more skilled, faster, this and that, yeah. So power is really, really big. And if Tank didn't have his power, we wouldn't even be talking about him. You know what I mean?
You know,
It's
it
you know,
something you said reminds me of like just hitting the target. You remember when Canelo fought Callum Smith, and Callum Smith was so big and tall, and
yeah.
Canelo just hit whatever he could. Man was just hitting the arm, hitting the bicep. It just reminded me of that. But let's go to this last topic here, man. We'll finish on this one. Um, Upset of the weekend, man. Upset of the weekend. And tell me why. I know John got a lot of thoughts on this one because we were talking about it briefly, but upset of the weekend on the community channel. Last time I checked, it was like over 200 votes for Paro and Matias. So upset of the weekend for you, Alex. Start us off and tell us a
Yeah.
little why.
I would say, even though I wasn't really fully tuned in, I would say it would probably be Matias. Although I was, banking on Gvozdyk to be the light heavyweight and put it on Benavidez, which I think he could have done. But I don't think that was so much of an upset. But I would definitely say Matias, because he's in talks with Teofimo Lopez, Regis Prograis, the next star at this division. And he let it slip. So yeah, I would definitely say Matias.
Talking about everybody but his own dang opponent, man. John, what you think, man? What was it for you this weekend, man?
Felt like it was two upsets, but one, when you think about it, it was always designed to be kind of competitive. But I felt Gary Antoine Russell, was supposed to get the win. He talked a lot that he belonged amongst the top of the division. He had a guy in front of him who I felt was going to be tricky, but I
Mm-hmm.
thought that Gary was going to get him out of there late. I thought he was like a tricky southpaw, long reach. But Gary, with his amateur background, with his 17 and no KO streak, the fact that he has, he's seen these styles before. I felt he would just be too athletic, too experienced for him. This guy's too easy to hit. He will overwhelm him and get him out of there late. The fact that he was getting hit a lot, he made it close. I thought it was a close fight, split decision one way, whatever. I thought that was an upset because he was really talking about these 140 guys like they weren't on his level.
Yeah, yeah,
He was talking like I need my opportunity. He wants the Devin Haney's, the Matias, the Tank Davis. He felt like all these top guys were avoiding him and he was just looking for an opportunity. And you know, it was not a good performance, man. He looked sloppy in there. I thought it could have gone either way, but I thought it was an upset, in my opinion. And Matias, man, Matias, bro, I don't know who that was in the ring on Saturday. I don't know who that was. That was a man that threw no punches. I don't know. Like my thing is this: I can live with Paro winning if Matias was in there punching him, being the typical Matias, and he just couldn't hurt him. You know what I mean? Like Paro
yeah.
was just strong, has a hell of a chin. But the fact that his offense was non-existent throughout the whole fight, I'm like, who is this guy? He's fought guys that have clinched before. He's fought guys that like to fight in the pocket. He's fought guys that punch and hold before. He's seen these styles before, man. And the fact that he just wasn't getting busy in there was very odd to me. Liam Paro, I thought would be a good contender. I didn't see him beating Matias. Nobody did. I thought he would do well. I thought he would have his moments early in the fight because Matias always gives up those first 2, 3 rounds. He lets guys get their offense off, build up confidence, feels their power, develops like a punch resistance to him, and then starts marching forward and getting his work off. I thought the last guy he fought, Ergashev, was a
Ergashev.
was a bigger puncher than Paro, because that dude hits hard, man.
I think
23 years old.
he still is to me.
Yeah, I was like Matias. I was at that fight, man, and he was hitting Matias with some bombs, and he ate him. You know, I was like, damn, that dude got a hell of a chin. And then he came forward, delivered his offense, and Ergashev couldn't handle that, so he quit in his stool, right? So I'm like, okay, I think Paro is good. I think he's a good fighter. I think he has respectable power. I know he does a lot of sparring with Shakur, and he gets good sparring. So I respected his skills, but I just didn't feel he would be the one to beat Matias. I didn't think that at this moment in time he's going to beat Matias. The fact that Matias was non-existent, and I texted you this earlier, man. I felt like it damn near feel like he bet on himself to lose, man. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Power was a plus 700, and I didn't agree with the odds. I thought Matias was too widely favored because I felt like Paro was a good fighter. But to beat him, bro, it's like, come on, man. And then he looked like he wasn't tripping after the fight. I mean, I know Panda was saying he didn't listen to my game plan. He kept saying, I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to knock him. How are you going to knock him out if you're not throwing any punches?
Yeah. I mean,
That was crazy to me.
it's as simple as, just not being hungry and going out for drinks the previous. I'm not saying he did that, but like you can tell that his ego definitely got to him. And Buster Douglas against Mike Tyson. I mean, Douglas was obviously supposed to win, but that's the thing. That's how simple it is in boxing to lose when you're not the same hungry guy. When you think you're the hunger goes and you think you're a hot shot. Who knows? He could have had a whole bunch of girls over the night before. I don't know, that week. He probably thought he had it in the bag. It's that simple. It's that simple to take away. If Tank went out drinking the night before, he might have lost against Martin. But professionals don't do that. But it probably just seemed Matias didn't show that he really wanted it, or who knows what he did. But him talking about Regis Prograis, him talking about him being a top dog, it could be that simple.
And you're right. That could have been it. My thing is, you're not that guy though. You ain't making money like that yet. Don't nobody know you yet. They're starting to build up your fan base in Puerto Rico. Puerto Ricans don't know. I got Puerto Rican friends. They don't know who Matias is.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, they don't know who Matias is. I'm putting him on. I'm like, hey, this guy's from the island, bro. He's a beast. Watch, he's a champ. Word? Oh, I didn't know that. Let me check him out. So you ain't getting money like that yet, man. You're not known like that. Yeah, you're a champion and you're close to getting the Teofimo Lopez, the big fights and all that kind of stuff to become a big name in the sport, but you're not there yet to take nights off or to not take your opponent serious. Hometown, they're calling you the next Trinidad. Man, Trinidad was at the fight.
Man, he looked disappointed too, boy. He looked disappointed.
Trinidad was out here thinking like, okay, this is the next guy up. You know what I mean? We haven't had a big star since Miguel Cotto. Can this guy be it? I'm gonna check him out. I'm hearing a lot of hype around him. And then he goes to the fight and he's like, what? What the heck is this? They would have put a Paro in front of Trinidad, bro. He'd have smoked him in 3 rounds.
Man, bro, it was just like it simply looked like this to me, man. And I agree with both things that you guys said. It just looked like he overlooked the man right in front of his face. Because when I saw the FaceTime of him talking to Regis Prograis as if that fight is already done, I was like, I turned the TV off. I didn't want to see no more of the interview. I didn't like anything leading up to it. And when you see it in the ring, again, going back to what we said, Alex, before John came on, he said, I don't have the skills. I may not have the footwork, but I got the cojones. It's like, bro, we've seen this movie play out a little bit. And I'm not going to shy away from the fact that I felt like Matias would have came on strong and would have been able to stop him. But Joey said the same thing as well, too. My chin is too strong. I'm just going to walk forward. At some point, you're going to get caught. But I didn't believe it was going to be Paro. And especially when the point was deducted, I was just like, yeah, this fight just got a lot closer. But as far as the Matias that we're accustomed to, I don't know who that person was. And it's going to be interesting to see what he does next, because the momentum that he was building as the boogeyman in the division, man, as I said, man, boogeyman only comes around in Halloween, and it ain't Halloween right now.
And I
It's,
think I think he hurt his stock, man. I think he hurt his stock, man. You know how boxing works, man.
he's
I
got
think
two
what it
losses
is.
now, right? So
Yeah, I think he hurt his stock big time because I mean, there's you have to be a super mega star demanding a fan base, lose to an elite fighter to take an early loss like that. And I know he's 31 years old, but people are just now hearing about him. Fans are just now tuning in. They're building up his brand and he had his homecoming fight in Puerto Rico. So this was supposed to be his coming out party. This was supposed to be him saying, "Hey, you guys, I'm one of the ones in boxing right now that people need to be paying attention to." The big fights and the big paydays were on the horizon. And I really think, why would a Teofimo Lopez fight a Matias at the moment?
yeah,
He's
not
not even a
anymore.
champion
That's
anymore.
done now.
No one's talking. Why would anybody care for Pitbull Cruz versus Sabril Matias?
It's
And there
gone
was a
now.
money fight, Puerto Rico versus Mexico, with two guys that are going to go right at each other. Like Devin Haney, why? Ryan Garcia, get out of here.
Yeah.
It's like at this point, you better off trying to get a rematch with Paro, and there was no rematch clause. So it's really up to
Mm,
Paro if they want to do that again.
You
And
see-
if they do it again, it's gonna be in Australia now, because Paro is a champion, right?
they gotta go
Logically, it would
down
make
there.
sense for him to have a fight in Australia because those fans are gonna really support him. They sold out Marvel Stadium for Cambosis, bro. So I'm sure they'll come out for Paro. I'm sure they'll come out for Liam Paro, right? So at
Yeah,
this point, if I'm Paro's team, why do we want to do that again? Why would we want to? Why do we want? Let's move on to bigger and better things. We've earned it. We went to Puerto Rico. We beat the boogeyman. We're champions now. Why not try to get a unification with Haney? Why not try to get the fight with Pitbull? At this point, I'm going for the big money fights. I'm trying to grow my brand. I'm trying to unify. Why do I want to do that again? There really wasn't no money in that anyway.
yeah,
So, at this point, I just feel like where does Matias really go from here? He lost that aura of being a boogeyman. He lost it. We all knew he was hittable, but we didn't think he was going to be beatable against a guy like that. And so now it's like you got people calling him a hype job, man. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of people saying he was overrated, you know.
it's funny how
So
things change very quickly,
and
man.
well, that's why you got to come out and you got to perform, man. And people talk about Canelo, and like Canelo has all the money in the world. And he still shows up to perform. That goes to show you the level of difficulty
Gotta respect them, man.
it takes to be an elite fighter and stay with that hunger and stay with that commitment to come in shape and perform every night. And these guys get a little bit of popularity. I wouldn't even call it fame. They get
Yeah.
popularity. They get a little bit of money. And now
That's
they think they Floyd Mayweather, man.
yeah.
You
I mean,
know?
Yeah,
especially as we say, like Matias, I'm sure he comes from very, 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 very humble beginnings. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? It's like he probably grew up like very, very poor, and then he starts to get his publicity. Could have a couple of girls come chasing him, this and that. He's like, oh man, I made it. That's it. I made it. And at this level in boxing, it's like it's a mental sport. And a lot of guys just don't have that maturity.
yeah,
Maturity. A lot of guys do not have that maturity. They're little boys inside
mm,
here. So they get a little taste, they get some candy. I don't need to train hard anymore. It's okay, it's okay. But it's the mature guys who last in the sport. The Mayweathers, the Canelos, the Tanks. Like you got to be fucking mature. But that's we don't talk about that enough in boxing. It's like
Right.
you got to be a mature man, a man who sees long term compared to just tomorrow. And obviously Matias is not mature because he probably had all the tools to beat this guy, but he wasn't mature enough to handle this kind of popularity, and he just let it go. And it's not that Paro was better than him. It's just that he wasn't mature enough to stay disciplined, to stay hungry. And it's that simple. It's that simple, in my opinion. But yeah, his stock has taken a big, big dip.
Yeah, and it's
let me
it's hard, man. Eddie
let me
Hearn,
get
man. I feel bad for Eddie, man. He don't have no
yeah,
fighters, bro. And he signed Matias, he signed Boots. I'm like, hey, he's building up his international talent. He got two young champions. And now I'm like, I don't think Boots is gonna lose to Adesanya, but now I'm like, damn, do I have to question Ennis performing in his hometown with the upsets that's
you,
going on? But
I,
I'll never
yeah,
forgive Matias for not letting his hands go. I could live with a fighter just getting beat. He would just lost to a better fighter. You know, But the fact that you did not let your hands go is inexcusable. Inexcusable.
Man, let's get to some of these comments, man. And you are correct. He didn't fight like Matias usually does. And Eric R says, I thought David was endangered of being an upset as well. The Russian was there all night. Gvozdyk is Ukrainian. Paro was the one who demolished Montana Love. Silk Sheets. Oh man, who was it? Tommy Hearns that said that? Who was it?
Ah
Who was
man,
it?
you know what? Once you're done with those comments, I want to touch on the Benavidez fight. But
All right, all right, all right. All right, let me get to this. His wife and kids was at the fight. Matias, man. For whatever reason, guys load up when they punch Matias. They waste so much energy trying to hurt Matias, and Paro did what he had to do and won the rounds. I heard he was partying the night before with some reggaeton artists. I wouldn't even be surprised by that, honestly. Oh man,
Ryan did too, and he still showed up and threw that damn lamb
yeah,
crook.
yeah. He threw his best shot. That's true. I called the island people to know who Matias was. Y'all are right. That's crazy. I was never high on Matias being this boogeyman. History of boxing is full of fighters who underestimated their opponents in big fights. It's remarkable that it keeps happening. Man, spot on. Matias will be okay. That loss will get him tossed in there with up-and-coming fighter, and he'll be back in the mix. He just won't be an A-side anymore. And that's going to be a very humbling thing when your checks look a little bit smaller, man. Canelo is disciplined. Money does funny things to fighters. 140 is stacked. It's not impossible to bounce back. Look at 154 when J-Rock, Harrison, and now Fundora. You one win in a hotbed from changing your story. Man, John, you want to touch on Benavidez real quick, man? What do you think?
I wish that were true for boxing like it is for the UFC, but it's not, man. Boxing, your stock drops, man. UFC, you could lose 2, 3 fights, you'll be back in the mix.
That's why it's so
Boxing,
popular across the
yeah,
world, bro. We get the fights, we get the big fights.
yeah. But boxing fans are a little bit more unforgiving, man, when it comes to poor performance like that. So and at the same time, boxing, when you become a big star, you make so much money, man. It's an extremely top heavy sport. So, that's why it's so important to really take it serious and try to beat guys that you're supposed to beat to reach your peak of your career. But I wanted to touch on the Benavidez Gvozdyk performance. Alex, I know you thought Gvozdyk would be a live underdog, and I thought that Matias Benavidez. No, I know you actually thought he would beat him. He would upset him, and I actually thought Benavidez was going to destroy him. I'm like, no way, man. But the fight, it was more competitive than I thought it would be. I thought Benavidez clearly won the majority of the rounds, but I did not see it going the distance. I did not see the Benavidez we saw at 168. And I think, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because he said he had a torn ligament in a hand. He said he suffered a cut, and when they zoomed in on the camera, he did look like he had some stitches
Yeah, I
that were
saw that.
healing.
I saw that.
Yeah, I saw the cut, and it was not a fresh cut. So I believe that he did suffer a cut in sparring. I believe that he did have a hand that was bothering him because I didn't really see him let his hands go. But I'm also gonna, it was his 175 debut. He was in there with an experienced veteran that was bigger
It's
than him.
tough.
It was the
He's
first time,
tough as
yeah,
Nikai,
yeah,
bro.
and he came in shape, man. That dude came in shape. So I thought Benavidez is gonna walk through this dude. He's gonna chop him up, and it don't matter.
Oh man, we lost Jay. He probably got a phone call.
He Hello.
All right, you back. You back.
Oh, my bad, man. So no, I mean he did better. Gvozdyk did a good. He had a good performance just by going in there and holding his own for 12 rounds. And I think Gvozdyk, because he held his own for 12 rounds, will be back in the mix at 175 and get other big fights. I thought if he got destroyed, he would retire. 37 years
Yeah.
old. You got destroyed. You got second knockout loss. All right, and it's kind of hard to climb up from this. But hey, man, he'll be in another big fight. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Bivol, and see how Bivol does with Gvozdyk.
It's a dangerous fight too, because man, again, the body shots that Benavidez was given to Gvozdyk, I was just like, yo, this is This man's core work is ridiculous. He must have went to Wakanda and got some of that vibranium or something, bro. He was looking crazy out there.
Yeah, I
I
know.
was
He
like,
did see
man.
some shots, man. But that's
Eric
what
R
being in
says
great shape to do.
Eddie is taking that Don King route. Just keep signing fighters and let the chips fall. I like a promoter who doesn't have to overly protect their fighters. Natasha Bass says, I never thought I would hear David say this happened because of that. And I had this and I had that. I hear
He
you.
still won, though. I mean, he still won.
He actually trained at my gym, Boxar. I'm here in Miami. I was he was I was a little bit like concerned. It was kind of like Rocky 3 when all the cameras were all him stuff, and I thought he was kind of underestimating Gvozdyk just because him training in Miami with all the cameras and fans and stuff like that. But what I was gonna say is I think that Gvozdyk has had the tools to beat David. He just didn't put it on. He just didn't turn it up until like the 12th round. He didn't fight like he was trying to win. He just looked like it was a sparring session. And he was hesitant. He just seemed hesitant. I expected him to pick it up, but he just let David. At the end of the day, it's about who wants to fight more. And in my opinion, Gvozdyk had the tools to win if he turned it on like he was against Benavidez. I know it's a little older now, but for me, it was like Keem and I talked about. I saw a lot of head movement. I saw a lot of good work, but Gvozdyk just kind of hung in there. But I thought that if he fought like it was life or death, I mean, he definitely could have even hurt Benavidez. But at the end of the day, it's about how much you want the fight. It doesn't matter what tools you have. Matias has all the tools in the world. If you don't fight like you want, to win, then I don't care what you do. You're not gonna win. So
yeah, man, I had a coach that said this. His name is Dan Paff. Coached over 80 Olympic medalists, and he said to me, Akeem, in a pressure situations, man, all you have to do is do exactly what got you there. And if you do exactly what got you there, there's a good chance you are going to get yourself a win or be in a close positioning to get the win, or you're going to end up on the podium. And sometimes, fighters get into this. And this is the thing when you're fighting Canelo and a guy like Tank is you sign the contract and you're like, great, I'm making all this money, great opportunity. And then you get a lot more questions from interviews than you've ever had before. And then you see everything that comes with fighting these guys and the magnitude of the platform. And you realize, wow, man, these lights are a little bit brighter. It's like, yo, it's that shock factor. But let's close out with this last question that I have for you guys, man, before we close out. Again, I'll, thank everybody for taking the time to tune in. Alex, John, appreciate you guys taking the time, man. We're going to close out with this question here. So we just saw Tank. Always in the 135 division, Tank, Shakur, always going to be mentioned. Shakur is fighting a guy who Frank beat in our team, Haratunian. What do you think Shakur's type of performance Shakur needs to have in order for him to be back in the mix as this is a guy that can beat Tank? Do you think he needs to stop Haratunian? What do you think? What do you think that Shakur has to do to put himself and possibly get himself a Tank fight?
I just think that I don't see him stopping him, but I just think he needs like to pitch a shutout, to have like a dominant performance. He outclassed him. Yeah. This guy, didn't land but 2-3 punches. None of them were effective. And we saw Shakur just make him miss, make him pay, put on a boxing masterclass and shut him out. And that's it. That's all he needs to do. And I think he would do that. I think he's going to do that. I think he's, after his last performance, he's going to have to come and put on a better performance. But he's not a big puncher, man. So it's kind of hard to put that expectation on him to stop his opponent. I don't think he's that kind of fighter. I think he's just a very slick boxer who is going to, pitch a shutout, and that's gonna be his version of domination. Just, outclassing you for 12 rounds.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. No, I mean, you can't go in there trying to knock a guy out if you're not a power puncher. That's how you get caught. you know. So you gotta stick to your strengths and implement your strategy. And it's chess, not checkers in there, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the same thing, man. Like Shakur is never going to have the type of power that Tank has, you know, and that's okay, bro. Like you dominate and you frustrate cats and you make them move uncharacteristically and you take them out of their game plan and then you expose them. And that's how they get his, that's how what he did to, what's the guy he took the belt from? He's in the army, military. His name is slipping me. Uh, it'll come back. It'll come back. But that's the type of fighter that Shakur Stevenson is, man. You don't have to get the stoppage to dominate because he can pitch shutouts across the board whenever he kind of wants to, especially if the guy who isn't on his caliber. But Alex, what do you think about that, man?
I agree. I think that's
Jamel Herring. That's right. Sorry, Jamel Herring. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he needs to do. He just needs to be as perfect as he can be in this next fight, and I think that's going to give him the opportunity to be in the mix with Tank. You know, I don't think that he beats Tank, but he'll definitely get the shot. And but yeah, no, I just think he just needs to keep doing what he's been doing and pitch a shutout.
Fellas, we've been on here for an hour and 30, man. So I appreciate each of you, man, again, taking the time to come on the show, come on the channel, and just talk a little boxing, man. I got love for both of you. For everybody that has taken the time to tune in, man, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I didn't get to all the comments, but, you know, we'll be back next week, Monday, 4:30, same time. Rafael Espinoza, he's up next. You know, we're going to see if he had a great night or he's a great champion. We're going to find that out on the weekend, man. So God bless everybody. Have a good rest of your day, good rest of your weekend, man. And week. I say weekend. I'm already thinking about the fight. Have a good rest of your week.
It'll be a good fight. That's the guy. He's the guy he's supposed to beat, you know. So I know they have their talks for a rematch with him and Robisi, who will be on the undercard of the Lopez fight.
Yeah.
So there's already a rematch signed if they both handle their business. So you know,
it's a lot at stake.
They should, but you never know, man.
Much love, everybody. We'll catch up a little bit later.
All right.